you guys. Welcome to our first lesson with this app. I'm pretty new to it, so bear with me in case weird things happen. So what we're going to be learning about today is two-way frequency tables. And just to start off, we are going to have a little bit of vocab. First word is going to be relative frequency. Now, when we're doing these, you guys can take notes with me, or you can just watch, whatever works best for you. So, relative frequency, what that is, it is how often something happens and it is divided by all outcomes. Okay, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be looking at two-way frequency tables. Hopefully two-way tables is pretty familiar to you, and then we are going to be doing some practice with them. Then we're going to be taking the relative frequency. So we will be needing a calculator or paper to do some working out on. I'm just going to do it on a calculator in order to save time for you guys watching this. So let me zoom out and go down to the first example. Okay, so this is example 1, and let's kind of work through this together. So what is going on in this example? It says the table shows the result of a survey about what the engineer said their favorite subject was in middle school. So what we have here, this is a two-way table. It's already filled out for us, so this is just our first example, starting off pretty easy. So we see we have electrical engineers, chemical, and mechanical, and they said whether they liked science or math most. And then as you can see, there are the totals along the edge down here and on that side. Okay, so what we are going to do is answer the questions. It just wants to know how many chemical engineers chose science. So this is just seeing, do you know how to read the data off of the graph? So we look under the chemical engineers row, and then we go to the column of science, and we see that 91 chose science. If you want to pause the video, you can pause and then try to answer the other questions. That's probably going to be the best way to do these. So if you want to pause and then figure out how many engineers chose math, that would be a good idea. Okay, so if you did that, the engineers that chose math, that is just the total engineers. All of them are engineers that chose math. We have 254. If we want to know the favorite subject of all of the engineers, well, 254 chose math and 262 chose science. That means science. I should have written science down. Overall, of all the engineers. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Hopefully that isn't too bad. That's really what a two-way table will look like, and that's some of the information we can get from it. So if we move to example 2, again, this is looking to see if we can read a table. It says a survey of students in a homeroom class explored the relationship between gender and participation in the school band. So what we have boys, girls, and then the total. We have who's in a band, who's not in a band, and then the total. So what's a reasonable conclusion to draw from these data? So based on the table, we want to look through A, B, C, and D and figure out which one makes sense, which one is true. If you want to pause, now would be a good time to do that and try to figure it out yourself. Okay, hopefully you did that. So A says there's more band members in the class than non-band members. Let's see, in a band, it says that the total for in a band, we have 12, and the total for not in a band is 14. So there are actually more people not in a band, so it's not going to be A. For B, it tells us there are more boys in the class than girls. Again, we're going to look at the total now for boys and for girls. It says there's 13 boys, 13 girls, so the same amount. The next thing, it says among the boys, there are more boys in band than not. So again, we're just going to be looking at this boys column. In the band 4, not 9. It says there's more boys in the band. It's not true. There's only 4 of them in the band. And the last one, hopefully this is it. Otherwise, this was just a big trick question. It says more than 1/2 of the band members in the class are girls. So we're looking at all the people that are in a band, and we want to see if more than half of them are girls. Well, the total number of people in the band are 12. 8 of them are girls. 8 out of 12 is definitely more than a half. So D would be the answer for that one. Oh, all right, let's go to an example where we are actually going to start filling it out. All right, so I know that you guys can't really write on this, but I am going to give you some time to pause if you want to maybe copy this down or try to figure out what numbers would go where if you want to do that yourself. Okay, let's go through and do this. It says you go to a dance to clean up afterwards. To help you collect soda cans, Coca-Cola, and Sprite and organize them. Some cans were on the table and some were in the garbage. 72 of the total cans were found. 42 were found in the garbage and 50 were found in 50 were Coca-Cola. 14 Sprite cans were found on the table. Complete the two-way frequency chart. So like with any math problem that has words, I always start off highlighting the important information. If you want to pause and think about what that would be, do so now. Okay, so I see right away 42 cans found in the garbage and 50 total Coca-Cola. 14 Sprite cans were on the table. And there is a sneaky math word up here. 72 total cans were found. So let's take all of this information and start putting it into the table. 72 total cans were found. So that is the total, complete total, 72. 42 were found in the garbage. So I'm going to go to the total of garbage and write in 42. And 50 total cans were Coca-Cola. So again, for the Coca-Cola total, I'll put in 50. 14 Sprite cans were found on the table. So I'm going to go to where it says table and go under Sprite and add in 14. Now, that is all the information that they gave us in the actual problem. What we are going to need to do is figure out all the missing values. If you want to pause and figure that out, now you can. Okay, so I am going to start off dealing with the total column. I see right here that I have 72 total, 42 are in the garbage. So to figure that out, I'm going to do 72. I'm going to take away 42, and that should give me what was actually on the table instead of the garbage. That gives me 30. So I know that there were 30 total cans on the table. What I'm going to do now is try to find any row. Remember, rows go this way. They're horizontal and columns are vertical. I'm going to look for any row or column that has only one missing value. So if I'm looking at rows, I notice my table row is missing just one value, right? So what I am going to do is I am going to find that missing value. I know that there were 30 total on the table. 14 of them were Sprite. How many must be Coke? Again, you do subtraction and you should get 16 were Coke cans. I'm going to continue again looking for any row or column that only is missing one value. Doesn't matter which order you do them in. I'm going to continue on rows, and I notice that down here I have one item missing in that row. So I am going to now find how many Sprite cans. 50 were Coke, 72 total. That means 22 must have been Sprite. If I look at my garbage row, I have two missing values there, so that would not be a good one to do next. So I'm going to start looking at columns. I see my Coca-Cola column. I am only missing one value. If I have 50 total and 16 of them are on the table, when I subtract that, I get 34 as how many were in the garbage. And then again, for Sprite, you can either use the row or the column because now there is just one missing value for both of those. Usually I look to see which numbers I like better. I kind of like 22 take away 14 better because I can do that in my head a bit easier. So I'm going to fill that in for Sprite. Okay. Now our two-way table is complete. What we need to do is we need to find the relative frequency. So this is where we are going to use the vocab word from top. So let's go back and look at that. It says how often something happens divided by all outcomes. If I didn't stay there long enough, feel free to pause it and read it again. So we know how often everything happens because that is what we literally just filled out right here in our two-way table. This is how many Coke cans we found in certain spots, how many Sprite cans, and where we found them. We also know the total of, the total amount that the outcome happens, just the total is 72. So what we're going to be doing to do the relative frequency table, you are going to be taking every item that's in the two-way table and you are going to divide by that 72, the total. This is where I'm going to be using a calculator. So to find the Coca-Cola total, so this one right here, what I am going to do is I am going to take the Coca-Cola number, which is 16. So 16, and I am going to divide it by 72. Like I said, I'm going to be doing that on a calculator. I get 0.2 recurring. I'm going to round that to the hundredth, and I'm going to put 0.22. I am going to repeat this for everything else. So the next one I would do would be Sprite, and that is Sprite on the table. So when I do that, what I am going to do is take 14, because that is the number for Sprites that we found on the table, and I am going to divide it by 72. So 14 divided by 72, I get 0.194, and the 4 is recurring. To round that to the hundredths, it would be 0.19. I'm going to go ahead and do all of the rest. You guys can pause and practice as well, and then come back to the video to check your answers. Okay, so this is what you guys should have filled into your relative frequency table. You are now going to need to fast forward just a little bit because I'm still learning this app. So yeah, there you go. Okay, so that is what the relative frequency is for the two-way table. The really cool thing about this when you are doing these is you should notice that like for every column, they should add up. So 0.22 plus 0.47 adds up to 0.69. Same thing works for every row. So 0.22 and 0.19 should add up to 0.42. If you notice, it's 1/100th off, and that is because we had to round. So when you round, it can get a little bit off, but it shouldn't be more than what you rounded to. So just check that out. Another really cool thing about doing a relative frequency table is it makes it really easy to get the percentages. So for example, to change a decimal to a percentage, I hope you guys know you just multiply by 100 or move the decimal over. So basically 0.22 is telling us that 22% of all cans found were Coca-Cola cans, and they were found on the table. It's also cool because you can do things like see what percentage of students actually threw away their cans as opposed to just leaving them on the table. We see that 58% of students threw out the cans as opposed to 42% just left it on the table for someone else to clean up. With different kinds of data and stats, this can be a really useful tool to kind of compare what's going on. And if we were a commercial, I guess we could see how many kids prefer Coke over Sprite. We see that 69% of the kids drank Coke, whereas only 31% of the kids had Sprite. Just something to keep in mind. All right, so I'm going to put the next example on for you guys to pause and fill out, and then I am going to go through the answer with you. So let's see. Okay, so go ahead and pause it, and hopefully on a scratch piece of paper, you guys can go through and try to answer it. One thing that I want to say really quick before, when they say the probability, that's the relative frequency. If you put it into hundredths, that is exactly what it's asking. So even though it says probability, you guys can think of that as the relative frequency. Okay, so go ahead, try to fill this out. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to come back and we can make sure our numbers are right. Then I'm going to give you guys time to pause it again and you can check your answers at the bottom. Okay, hopefully you guys paused it. The writing should still be showing up. You can fast forward or you can just do it along with me. Okay, so this is what you should have if you filled out your frequency table. These are the numbers you should be using to answer the questions at the bottom. I'm going to give you guys time to pause it again and then see if you got the same answers at the bottom. Same as before, you guys. There's going to be some blank space here. Future videos probably won't have this, but again, feel free to fast forward. My writing should start appearing pretty soon, and you can follow along with that. But I am going to have the sound turned off, and yeah. Okay, so this is what it should look like when you have done all of the work for this. Hopefully, these are the answers you guys got. I thought some of the more interesting ones were C and F, where we had to add some numbers first. So let me just walk you through C, and hopefully you can figure out F. So the probability a student is male and does not study biology. So here are all the students that are male. But we need to make sure that they do not study biology. So that means they did chemistry or physics. Because of that, I had to add the 6 plus 9 first to get that 25, and then I could divide by the 80 to get the relative frequency. I had to do a similar thing on F about students that did not study biology. Okay, let's see, one more I think for you guys. All right, I'm going to let you guys pause this and work it through on your notes, and then you can come back, check the answers, and yeah, all right. And one last time, you guys, where you either need to fast forward or you can watch me writing it out and do it along with me. Okay, so this is what you should have gotten for this one. The interesting one on this for me, I thought it was H. So if we look at H really quick, it says what percentage of girls never wear glasses? Notice it didn't just say what percentage of all the students are girls that never wore glasses. So what I did here, if you notice what I divided by, it was the total of the girls because we wanted to know of the girls what percentage never wear glasses. So I went just to the girls column and I looked at how many never wear glasses and divided that by how many girls total there were. So that should be it for you guys today. I think we are going to post a couple questions. I think just one on Google Classroom. It's just like your bookwork. So please get that done. You guys have all day today until midnight. I hope you enjoyed your first lesson. I hope the sound was okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Please email. And yeah, have a good day, you guys.